I mean, what's amazing about the new media landscape is how much data is available. So when you have streaming content, when you have viewership, when you have engagement, one of the most amazing things about the NewFronts is you see that technology, the interaction with the actual video units. It's not just scanning a code anymore. You can actually click, you can transact. So the amount of signals that you have in the ecosystem is just exploding. So the AI component is the creative testing, understanding what actually drives consumers to action. On the back end, trying to predict which types of consumers you want to serve the ads to. So for us, it's just an explosion in insights. And the human brain, the media planner, the data analyst can only handle so much. So the fact that we have AI as a friend in this race, helping to think through the math equations, helping to plan and optimize, it's just such an amazing experience.
What about, there's a lot of excitement around shoppability with television, but there's a long way to go from that to be a real typical behavior. What does the industry need to do to push that forward?
Well, working with partners like Amazon, they had a NewFronts event a couple days ago. The fact that you can see the transaction in real time, that helps the ecosystem a lot because you have not only a retail partner that you can optimize your organic content, you can figure out different ways to plug in your paid content, you can actually serve it cross-channel, you can measure what happens on their platform and off the platform is amazing. But also Roku had a lot of noise on their product integrations. So the vendors that we're working with, the platforms themselves, they're getting richer in terms of plugging in purchase data, behavioral data. So seeing the signals, having it as a real-time gauge of how your campaigns are, not just waiting 30 days, 60 days, as was the case even a few years ago, waiting for the marketing mix models, but actually seeing the real clean rooms, the cloud infrastructure, enabling all of those signals it's amazingly exciting for us.
What do you think has to happen to to normalize that behavior among consumers?
I think consumers are exposed to more advertising touch points than ever. They might not understand the nuances of how it's bought, whether it's coming through the screen or a set-top box or their cable provider. But I think for them, seeing the ad units and seeing that they can choose the experience of how they're engaging with the ad units, like Hulu is an amazing partner where you can actually choose different experiences. The consumer goes in, they select which type of advertising they want to see, and it makes them a bit more engaged, more plugged in to what they're actually getting. Assuming that we as an agency, working with our advertisers, have done the job of planning the right journeys, and we plug the consumer segments or individuals into the right experiences with the right media partners and right channels, it makes it a lot more interactive.
That would seem to also make measurement a little bit more complicated, just as you're trying to reform currency, you're trying to focus on attention. What is it like right now trying to suss out the right way to evaluate these different kind of campaigns?
Yeah, I think it's a boom right now in the measurement industry. I think in the past, it was a bit together when we were in the old cookie world. It fell apart as we started introducing new technologies, the walled gardens came up. I think now the walled gardens are more plugged in to ID resolution technologies. You can still have the same identifier, the same consumer throughout, and it is getting a bit easier, step by step, day by day, to measure that connected consumer experience, that journey. So for the measurement world, I think combining the collaboration in platforms like clean rooms, so working with LiveRamp, working with Salesforce, even the announcements in JIC and OpenAP, it's becoming a lot more collaborative in nature in terms of how we're measuring outcomes and how we actually get to that real ROI or that real-time gauge of how our media is performing.
When it comes to clean rooms, are we still in the testing phase, or are you going to see a lot of brands this year bring their own data and execute television buys that are much more precise that way?
I mean, I would say from storage of data, we've gotten quite advanced. So now we know how to pass data, we know how to harmonize it, we know how to build that ETL, that extract, transfer, load process. So we have data in clean rooms, check. The second step is what to do with it. I think we're okay on insights, so we know who the consumers are. I think we can measure things like reach, that's good. I think the next step is push the audiences that are performing the best back into activation. So if we know exactly which ones have seen ads, which ones are engaging with them, which ones are connected on that journey, we should be able to push it back into the media world. I think that's the next step. And then third, if we can assess the ROI, if we know that there's a strong performance, then we can suppress, we can engage, we can build lookalikes. It's still a bit of a manual clean room process, but we're moving there. It's a step-by-step improvement in the industry.
What about the idea that each of the different networks is kind of going their own way in terms of an identifier and their own clean room product? Does that make it more complicated, or does it become more of like a walled garden ecosystem?
Well, I think that's the beauty of JIC. If we can come up with standards, if we can bring all the measurement partners, all the major publishers and networks together, and we can agree on what quality measurement looks like. A lot of what the IAB has done historically, what the MRC has been pushing, but it's different. I think now we're talking about less small sample, less panel, more deterministic, large scale, so it's more complex. The decisions that we make in terms of seconds of view of an ad unit, or the frequency of ad units, or viewership of a program, or even how to sample size and build a larger scaled audience projection total US, if we can agree on those standards, if we can figure out how to readily access the data and how to pass it, because there shouldn't be any secrets. These are big data sets, you should be able to go in, query them, mine them. The data scientists should be able to analyze what a good data set looks like and what the measurement standards are. If we can agree, it shouldn't matter that there's 4 or 5 contenders. It's more the principle, the philosophy of how we get there, the practices, and I think those are going to be aligned in the next, hopefully a couple quarters. But we're moving very quickly, and definitely an exciting time in the industry.